What's up, guys? Pastor Seth here.
Hi, guys. It's Pam.
Welcome and thank you for joining us here at Restoration Church. What's up, Research.tv? So we are so glad you guys are with us today.
So glad. I love Sundays.
Yeah, I do. I love being able to worship.
Yep.
And hey, a couple quick things. One is we are still praying on a daily basis to be in person with you guys. Can't wait for that to happen.
I think it's close.
I think so too. We're working some things behind the scenes, praying that God does miraculous type things. So anyway, yeah, so we're continuing our series Overcome, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming the fear of what ifs.
What ifs?
You know, the fear, what ifs. The fear, what if,
yes.
What if this has happened? What if this doesn't look like this? What if the cabin is the job? What if the kids do this? What if they don't do this? What if... We all do it. We do it every single day. We're going to be talking about overcoming the fear of what ifs today. And where are we truly putting our faith? But enough about me preaching now, because that's coming in a few moments. I want to talk about...
What if Pastor didn't talk anymore?
What if you just kept those comments to yourself? And no. But here's the...
Okay.
What if you woke up tomorrow morning with an extra $850 million in your bank accounts? Like... You didn't realize, like, between Mega Millions and New York Powerball, by the way, I'm not endorsing the gamble or anything like that, but I'm just saying facts are that those two things right now are like $1.4 billion worth of money to be won.
That's crazy.
That is a lot of money. And so I want to know, the question is this: if you were to win $850 million or the cheesy chump change of $600-some million, who would be the first person you would tell? Well, I appreciate that.
I would definitely tell you. I would tell my family first.
Just driving up a new bubble and be like, where'd you get that from? Oh, just, you know, some money I had in my purse. Yeah, $850 million. Oh, that looks nice. Yeah. Yeah,
family first.
Who would you tell?
Who would you tell?
Yeah.
Who would you tell? What about you?
Who would I tell?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd absolutely tell you. At least in the top 5 people, I would tell.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, no, I would. You would know it because I would be talking in a whole octave higher. Oh my goodness! I can't believe it! Okay, what's on this time? I'm like, we won the 150.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
So, something like that.
Not at the beginning.
I'd be running around. Yeah.
Running around.
Be crazy. So I want to tell you something right now. If you won that money, we want to know if you tell. Then what would be like the first thing that you would do with it? I think we talked. Maybe you talked about.
We did talk about that before a little bit.
But we want to hear, like, what would you do? Like,
what would you do? Like, would you
listen? We know you're all Christians watching this thing, biblical giving Christians. So you know, you guys would be like, oh, I'm gonna tithe, which you should.
Yes.
By the way, tithe from the top. So if you win $850 million. We expect a check of $85 million today. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. But
so
research.tv/give. But yes.
But can you tie that much on an online thing?
I don't know, but I would like someone to try.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, let's do it. Come on, someone try that. Let us know if you were able to give $85 million. And yeah.
I'd like to challenge you to it.
Yeah, I challenge you right now.
All right, so after tithing,
yes,
what would you do with it?
Me?
Yeah, I mean, like, some people are like, I want to buy a boat, or I need a new car, or I want to pay off my house. You know, those are all good things.
Those are great things. Yeah, I think we would do that.
I think we'd take a trip to Australia.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be on my top 10.
Take care of family, take care of church fam. You know, you hear our church, I think we grow. They're like, oh, you're going to take care of us, and we're going over there. Yeah, no. We know who our friends are. No, yeah. But yeah, what would you do? Yeah, so. Yeah. I think something that's cool to dream about, but can I, like, being back to the spiritual side, if you win, that's awesome. Not endorsing the play, but if you happen to play and you win, sweet. Make sure you tithe, make sure you are generous, and so on. But the big thing is this, is whether you win or not, as a Christian, God provides for all our needs, and that's the awesome thing. Yep. He takes care of us in so many ways. So maybe he'll let you win, but maybe you're like, nah, I got better plans for you. So, listen, he's got some great plans for you today. We're worshiping together. We've got a great message for you. Reminder, no re-kids today for the rest of January. We're getting reset, moving back in February. And so, yeah, getting excited with you guys on that. This Wednesday, January 20th, Daniel Fast. All right, so, yeah, make sure you go research.tv/Daniel Fast. Get the deets, all right, about it. Let us know if you're going to be involved in that, prayer, whatever, and get all the information for that there. So, looking forward to that. Looking forward to worship with you guys.
I am looking forward to it.
If you win the Mega or the Powerball, make sure you don't forget to tithe. Love you guys. Worship with us. Peace.
See you guys later.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, Jesus, a name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. Live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. You open up my eyes and show me who you are and fill me with your love and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever bring. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one you could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Only there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken.
Hey everyone, this is Janie and I want to welcome you here online at Restoration Church. We exist to lead people to become fully engaged followers of Jesus. And if you are joining us for the first time, we are honored that you are with us. We would love to connect with you at rechurch.tv/connect. We also want to thank you for your continued generosity here at Restoration, where we live to give. The easiest way you can give is by going to rechurch.tv/give or text GIVE to 845-209-1313. To get more information on how you can take the next steps here at Restoration, simply visit us at rechurch.tv. Thanks again for tuning in, and we hope this message today will be the peace and encouragement you need.
Hey, what's up, church fam? Pastor Seth with you today as we continue our series, Overcome. And I'm just so glad to be with you as we are looking at different ways to overcome the obstacles and various things that we face to really fulfill and live out the purpose that God has for us and see that take place here in 2021. So we're going to be overcoming together, and we've been talking about this, the battle that we face and fighting past obstacles and taking our Jerusalem, reaching this community for Jesus. And so I want to talk about today about some what if fears. So this idea of what if this happens or what if that takes place, because it's something we're all dealing with. And so as we get started today, I have a simple question for you. And it's really just, I want you to be honest, drop it maybe in the comments or to talk and discuss with someone that's with you today. But what's the scariest thing that you've ever lived through? All right, let's take 2020 out of the equation, because a lot of us would say, well, 2020, that's the scariest thing I've ever lived through. But what's the scariest thing that you've ever lived through? Think about it for a moment. Is it a situation? Is it something with a family member? Is it something, a health scare that you've dealt with? What's the scariest thing that you ever lived through? I gotta tell you, there's a few stories that come to my mind, but one is I'm thinking of right now as a parent. You know, you're always looking out for your kids, and one of the scariest things that we've faced with our youngest, Sebastian, so far to date, and he's a energetic little boy who we'll probably go into the hospital a lot more with, because he's all over the place, and he's courageous, and he's climbing stuff. And so, yet in the short history of his life of being 3 years old, one of the scariest moments we've had to face to date is we were coming to actually home from church, and it was Sunday afternoon, and we were all kind of getting ready to relax, and the kids are playing, and I'm thinking I'm helping Pam, you know, getting things ready for lunch, and then I hear our oldest Reuben saying, "Dad," and you see, you know, and you could just tell that there was fear in his voice, and he goes, "Sebastian, Sebastian," it's sticking out of his face. And those are words you don't want to hear as a parent, or probably anyone. Sticking out, what does he mean? And well, what happened was our littlest one, Sebastian, was playing with a drumstick, you know, an actual drumstick, and somehow he tripped, and it actually got, okay, so just squeamish, all right? Here's a forewarning, you know, but it was actually, it impelled him, it was sticking out of his cheek. And so he had his drumstick sticking out of his cheek, and he's just sitting there and obviously in pain and not sure what to do. And as a dad, as a parent, that was scary. You know, and, you know, because the last thing you want to do is your kids get hurt, and then you're trying to figure out, what do we do from here? And so, anyway, long story short, that kid's a trooper, and took him to urgent care, and, you know, and he got taken care of, and he just could care less. He just kept on moving through. But that was scary. So what's the scariest moment that you've ever lived through? And, you know, and just think about, how did you overcome that? Or maybe you haven't. Maybe you're still dealing with that, whatever it is today. Well, I wanted to talk about scary moments in our life, and the idea of putting our faith and trust in God in all things, right? In all things. An idea of what fear and faith look like today for us, for you, and for me. In the moments of the drumstick sticking out of the cheek, you know, how do we respond? Well, 2 Timothy tells us in chapter 1, verse 7, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And so, walking as followers of Jesus, we're called not to have a spirit of fear. You know, we're called to live in the power and love of Jesus and having a sound mind. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to face scary moments. The idea is learning to trust God in all things. And so I want to encourage you, because what happens, and I want to challenge you today, because the reason a lot of us walk and act scared, because maybe something scary has happened to you, and because of that scary moment in your life, you react differently to certain situations, or you avoid situations altogether. Maybe you had a scary relationship and you're afraid to dive into another relationship. Whatever it may be, maybe you went for a job promotion and you didn't get it, and now you're scared to try to do that again. You know, whatever those scary moments in your life, a lot of times that keeps us from overcoming and living the life that God has intended for us and being the people that God's called us. Maybe you're scared and afraid of rejection, you know, not being accepted, whatever it may be. Listen, we need to be understanding that we can't live in the what-if type fear. See, because fear is placing faith in the what-ifs. See, fear and faith actually walk alongside of each other. They're not the opposite. Fear, you know, is not the opposite of faith. And so we're going to be talking about that. But fear is actually placing faith in the what-ifs. You're putting faith in something that's just, what if? What if this happened? And a lot of us live in the fear of what ifs, you know. Well, what if I don't get the job? What if they say no? What if, you know, I get that call? What if this happens? What if, you know, and so a lot of our life, daily life is what if, what if, what if? And so you've taken and put your faith and placed that in what ifs. And so we are living in the fear of what ifs. And I want to share with you a story. In Exodus chapter 3, it actually starts, and we see the story of Moses, and you might be familiar with Moses. And so at this point in Moses' life, he's rejected, he's pushed away the call that God's placed in him, and he's found himself in the wilderness, doing his thing as a shepherd and just kind of living life. And God finds him in the wilderness in a form of a burning bush and speaks out to him and calls out to him and says, Moses, he says, I want you to lead my people out of the land of Egypt. And Moses responds, read it for yourself in Exodus chapter 3. He responds over and over again with the what ifs. Well, what if they don't listen to me? What if, what if I'm not, strong enough and courageous enough? What if my speech is not where it's supposed to be? What if, and what if he says no? And it's what if. And so God goes back and addresses all those what ifs with Moses. And we find this in Exodus chapter 4, verse 1 in this discussion. And it says, Moses answered as God spoke to him. He says, what if they do not believe me? He says, what if they don't listen to me? And the Lord, what if they say the Lord didn't appear to you? That's his what ifs, and this whole argument going back and forth and his rejection of God, so to speak, pushing God away and saying, I'm not the right person for this. And, I'm not cut out for this. And I'm not worthy of this. Things that we tell ourselves all the time. And he says, what if they don't believe me? What if, they don't listen to me? Some of you don't witness or share the gospel with your friends and family members because you're like, well, what if they don't believe what I have to say? What if they, have questions I don't have answers for? What if they make fun of me? And stop living in the what ifs. This is where Moses is at. And he says, and what if they say, well, the Lord never appeared to you. He never talked to you. What if? Listen, I want to talk about that, and we'll get back to the story in a little bit, but why do your what ifs matter? Let's talk about that for a minute. Why do your what ifs matter? Well, I think why it matters is because what you fear the most actually reveals what you value the most. What you fear the most actually reveals what you value the most. So we can see what do you fear the most? That's where we put our value in. You fearing going bankrupt. Well, you're putting all the value in finances. Are you fearing and rejection in a relationship? Well, you're putting all your value in that. You fear whatever it may be. What you fear the most actually reveals what you value the most. Why do your what ifs matter? Because it says something about you. It says where you're placing your faith. What other reasons why your what ifs matter? Well, what you fear the most reveals what you value the most, and what you fear the most actually reveals where you trust God the least. Think about that for a moment. What you fear the most actually reveals what you value the most, and what you fear the most also reveals where you trust God the least. All right, so what the biggest fears? I had to tell you, I gave you a story as a parent. I love my kids and I love my family. And actually my greatest fears are thinking about what could happen to them. And what if, we're talking about the crazy world that we live in. And what if this takes place? And what if this happens? And what if, again, back to living in what ifs. And I have to understand that as just as much as I love God and God loves me, and as much as I love my kids, and God loves my kids even more than I do. And I have to understand that sometimes I actually trust God at least with my kids because that's where I fear the most. So I have to learn that God's in control, that God loves my kids and he's looking out for them and he's got a plan for them just as he has a plan for me and you today. And so I have to learn to be really able to give my kids to God and just trust him with them and knowing that he has a future of hope and plans for them. See, what you fear the most reveals where you trust God at least. So where is that in your life today? And that's why our what ifs matter, because where you're saying what if all the time reveals what you value the most, and it reveals where you trust God the least. And so that is giving you a platform, a place to start on being able to trust God in those things. And so I want you to, wherever you're at right now, if you're with someone, you're by yourself, maybe you drop it in the comments, maybe just a dialogue quietly where you're at. But I want you to answer this question right now. Simply, I'm not trusting God with what? What is it? I'm not trusting God with, is it your kids? Is it your finances? Is it your job? Is it your health? Is it this country? Is it this, the relationship you're in, your marriage, your addiction, your sin that you keep on going and falling back into, your anger? I'm not trusting God with, you fill in the blank. All right. And this is where we're going to learn to overcome this and start taking steps forward to get past these obstacles that are hindering us from fully experiencing the blessings and joy that God has for each one of us today. I'm not trusting God with fill in the blank. All right. So we talked about fear is placing faith in the what ifs, right? And then why do our what ifs matter? Well, because what you fear the most reveals what you value the most, and what you fear the most reveals where you trust God the least. And so I'm going to help you and give you some things today to overcome your deepest fears. All right? I'm going to give you some ways to overcome your deepest fears. And this is not, you're going to walk off from this and everything's going to be okay. You've got to go to work. You've got to be able to learn to trust God. You've be able to be honest with God and saying, I'm not trusting you, God, with this, so let's do something about it. We've got to get past our what ifs, and just trust God with the what is. But let me give you some ways right now to overcome some of our deepest fears. The first step in that is we need to be able to acknowledge our fear and choose to trust God anyway. Okay? So first step is simply acknowledging your fear and choosing to trust God anyway. Acknowledge and choose. Acknowledge and choose. We've got to be intentional with this. So you need to acknowledge your fear and you need to choose to trust God anyway. So whatever you fear the most, all right? Acknowledge that. Be honest with that. Put it on the table and say, this is it. This is where I'm at. Put all your chips there on there. Put it all out there. All right? Acknowledge your fear and then trust God with it anyway. All right, saying, this is where I'm fearful at, God. This is where I'm lacking in faith in this area in my relationship with you, but I'm going to trust you anyway. That's what we're saying here. We're saying, God, I'm struggling with the what ifs. I'm struggling because I can only see so much, and I'm basing off past experiences and my lack of knowledge and my lack of resources, but I'm going to trust with you and trust you anyway. We find in Psalm chapter 56, verse 4, it says, "In God, his word I praise, and God I trust, and am not afraid." Going back to the story of Moses, and we're gonna catch more a little bit about the outcome we just read about. But Moses struggled with the what ifs. And what if they don't believe me? And what if they don't listen to me? And what if they don't really think that you spoke to me? And so it's what if? And so in that dialogue that Moses and God had back and forth, God continued giving him some signs. And he said, hey, I'm going to be with you. I've given you your brother, Aaron. He's going to be with you along your side. He's going to represent me as well. I've given you things that you can do, miraculous things that only can come from me. He said, don't worry about the what ifs. Just trust me with the what is. And the what is I am God. And what is, this is what I've called you to do. And the what is, so just be faithful. Be obedient in that, right? I say it all the time. It's like, we don't need to figure out all the details. We just got to be obedient and faithful. That's all God has asked us to do. He'll take care. God is in the details. You understand? Say that with me today. God is in the details. Come on, say it again. God is in the details. So we've got to get past the what if and just stick with the what is, okay? And so in overcome our deepest fears, thing is, we got to acknowledge our fear, and then we got to choose to trust God anyway. And then the second thing is that we need to seek God until he takes away our fears. We need to be able to seek him until he takes away. So go and have that relationship with God. Continually seek him. Seek him early. Seek him, consistently. Seek him throughout the day. Seek him before you go to bed. Spend that time with God. This past weekend on Reveal on Wednesdays here on Facebook at 7 p.m. I did a thing about prayer, and the idea of praying is so powerful in our life. So you need to find a time, be consistent at time, find a place, that you can go and praise and pray to God and just make it happen, right? And have a plan when you're doing this, right? And be intentional about your time with God. Seek God. So you need to be able to seek him until he takes away your fears. Go to him consistently. Get humble before our God today. Be humble before your God. Just pour it all out and just be broken before God so God can then build us back up the way he wanted us to be built in the first place. Psalm 34, verse 4 says, I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. All right, sought the Lord and he answered me. He's going to answer you. And so be able to be listening to the still small voice of God and knowing that he's listening and he cares for you, he loves you, and he's looking to build you up. He's looking to answer you and to deliver you from all our fears. And so we can go to that God, that ever-present help in time of trouble, and that fortress, that solitude, that place of refuge, that place of rest. And he's looking to deliver us today. And so Moses went back and forth with God and had this conversation. Check it out, Exodus chapter 3 and Exodus chapter 4. And it's an awesome conversation. God keeps going back to him. He going back, hey, I got this. Moses, what if? And God says, this is what is, this is what is, this is what is. All right. And so there's this conversation. Moses was seeking God until God took away his fears. So acknowledge your fears. And then choose to trust God anyway. Seek God until he takes away your fears. And so I want you to today seek him. Put him first. Listen, this Wednesday, January 20th, we are starting a 10-day Daniel fast here at Restoration. And join me here Wednesday at 7 p.m. for our refuel this week. We're going to be talking about fasting and what that's all about and what that can look like for you. And it's really spending those 10 days starting this Wednesday to really get close in your relationship with God and to overcome some stuff in your life and see God and see him work in your life he's never worked before and reveal some stuff in your life. And so be honest with God and just be open before God and understand that he's willing and ready to just work in your life. And so we'd love for you to be part of that. And so you can get more information, rechurch.tv/DanielFast. But anyway, fasting is such an incredible way to get closer to God. And if you're searching for some answers and some wisdom in certain areas, this is the way to do it. Spending quality time with God through fasting and seeking him first. And so Moses had this encounter with God in Exodus chapter 3. And he just find here in chapter 4, verse 1, where he's saying, well, you know, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't listen to me? What if they say that you never spoke to me? And so we're going to look at this passage again as Moses had this conversation, right? And then the Lord said to him in verse 2, it says, what is it in your hand? He says, what's in your hand? And Moses replied, well, it's a staff. You know, it's just an ordinary staff. I'm a shepherd. That's what I carry. It's a staff. And again, I love this chapter. If you continue reading and God told him to throw it down, pick it up. And it just had this thing is whatever you have, just make it available to me. And so in this what if fear, see, fear is placing the faith in the what ifs, right? And our what ifs, why do they matter? Well, because they reveal what you value the most and they reveal where you trust God the least. And to overcome those fears and overcome those what ifs, then we need to just acknowledge our fears and choose to trust God anyway. And then we need to seek God until he takes away our fears and be able to just willing to say, God, I don't have much, but it's yours. Be able just to be obedient and just be willing to surrender to God. Surrender what you value the most. Surrender what you're holding on to that you're just not willing to let go. And to you, it might not seem like much. But the saying in the verse, the little is much when God is in it, right? Let God decide what he's going to do with what you have. Just be willing to give it. Just be willing to surrender to God. And so the conversation back and forth, and God looks down and says, so Moses, what is it that's in your hand? And Moses replied, it's a staff. And God said, awesome. If you're willing to allow me to use you in your staff, you're going to do some incredible things. You're going to overcome those what ifs. People are going to listen to you. People are going to believe you. People are going to respond. Why? Because I'm at work through you. We talked about this. I mentioned this last week. Listen, God's doing a lot of work in us, and he's ready to do some work through us as well. Come on. Let him work in us, and then let him work through us. Let him work in you, and let him work through you. All right? So I want God to work in me and through me. All right? And so I want God to work in you and through you. And so you have to be able to say, listen, this is all I have, but God, it's yours. And that's what God's looking from us today. And so I love this passage and back in Exodus chapter 4. And we just read here in verse 2. You see this? And it says, he says, what's that in your hand? He replies, he says, it's a staff. A staff. That's important to remember that phrase right there. It's a staff. Well, back to the conversation between Moses and God and the what ifs conversation. And God finally got Moses to be obedient. And even though he still was fearful, he chose to trust God anyway. Basically said, God, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I don't see how it's going to work. But you know what? I'm just going to trust you anyway. And that's God's okay with that. Because he's not expecting us to just to understand it all. He never said we would understand and get it. He just wants us to trust him. And so in this process, Moses said, okay, I'm going to surrender. I don't get it, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to trust you. And so when this took place, Moses took his wife and his sons, and they were heading back, all right, and started back to their trip to Egypt, and that's where God had called them to go. I love this. Exodus chapter 4, verse 20. But before we get there, let's go back to verse 2. You need to remember, see this with me real fast. When God said, what's that in your hand? Moses replied, it's a staff. So, and before he surrendered to God, what he had was simply a staff. Now, we find that he has surrendered to God. He chose to trust God despite his fears, despite his what-ifs. He's seeking God, and to God's going to take away those fears. And so in verse 20, we see this, and it says, so Moses took his wife and sons and put them on a donkey and started back to Egypt. And I love that, okay? Verse 2, what did he have in his hand? A staff. Verse 20 of the same passage, what does he have in his hand? It's no longer just a staff. It says he took the staff of God. He took the staff of God. That ordinary staff became the staff of God because Moses was willing to overcome his what-ifs and his fears and surrender it to God. Listen, whatever you have that you're holding on to that just seems ordinary, God can take it and make it extraordinary. All right? Give God your staff and it will become the staff of God. Give your God your kids and they'll become the kids, your children of God. Give God your finances and they become God's finances. Give God your worries and they become God's worries, right? He's gonna be with you along those way. Whatever you're dealing with, give it to God. Allow God to take it and to ordain it and to oversee it and to bless you through it. Whatever it is, the worries, the anxiety, the stress, the fear of the unknown, the what-ifs, right? Give it to God. Became his staff to the staff of God. Listen, fear isn't the opposite of faith. It's having faith in the wrong things. See, fear and faith aren't opposites. Just fear is having faith in the wrong things, in the what-ifs, right? Fear isn't opposite of faith. It's just having faith in the wrong things. Where are you placing your faith in today? What do you need to surrender to God today? That's simply a staff. And God can turn into the staff of God. What is it? What do you need to trust God with today? Where are you lacking in faith? Listen, fear is placing faith in the what-ifs, right? And our what-ifs matter because they reveal what you value the most and where you trust God the least. So to overcome those fears and overcome those what-ifs, then you need to acknowledge those fears and choose to trust God anyway. Even if you still have those fears, you're acknowledging them. They're there, and I'm going to trust God despite that they're there. And then you seek God until He takes away those fears. And then understanding that fear isn't the opposite of faith. It's really just having faith in all things. We need to place faith in the right things. Take your staff, let it be turned into the staff of God. Listen, the number one reason not to fear, let me give you this right now. The number one reason not to fear is simply this, because of God. The number one reason not to fear is why? God. The number one reason not to worry, it's God. The number one reason to have faith that things are going to be okay, God. He's there for us, no matter what's taking place. So let's go seek God out today. Let's overcome. Come on, those what-if fears are going to be goodbye. All right? Let's place our faith in the what is. That's God. All right? Let me pray for you today. God, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you for those who are watching today. I pray that we can overcome our what-if fears. And there's so many of us and so many things to have what-if fear. What if this happens in our economy? What happens if this person's in leadership? What happens if this person isn't in leadership? What happens if, this, doesn't get any better anytime soon? What if I get that phone call? What if, things don't change in my relationship? What if, I don't get that job promotion? What if I get fired from my current job? What if, what ifs gotta go? So we can just put our faith and trust in the what is and you, God. Right? We can just go to you no matter what, and you take our staff and turn it into the staff of God, that we can overcome. Thank you for all you do for us. In your name, amen. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us today. And we'd love to be praying for you. Reach out to us at rechurch.tv/prayer. If you want more information about the Daniel Fast, check us out at rechurch.tv/Daniel Fast. Join me this Wednesday here, Facebook, for Refuel at 7 p.m. And I'll give you kind of a quick 10-minute fasting 101. And yeah, let's do this. Let's seek God together. Let's be able to overcome. All right, God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you are new with us or you said yes to Jesus today, connect with us at rechurch.tv/online. Let us know how we can pray for you at rechurch.tv/prayer. And thank you for your continued generosity. We give out of the overflow of our heart. Giving is an act of worship that expresses our gratitude, faith, and love for others. You can give by texting GIVE to 845-209-1313 or online at rechurch.tv/give. To keep updated on what's happening here at Restoration, text ReChurch to 84576 or visit us at rechurch.tv.